Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to dive right into what I think is one of the most fascinating biological construction phases out there, the second trimester of human gestation. Seriously, if you've ever wondered how a microscopic cluster of cells literally transforms into a recognizable, functioning human being, well, this is where the magic really starts to take shape. Let's get right into it. So think about this for a second. At what exact point during those 9 months does a developing fetus actually grow fingernails? Or, develop the muscles needed to start kicking? These are absolutely profound milestones. To really grasp what happens during the middle of pregnancy, we need to look closely at the new physical features that pop up, exactly how they form, and most importantly, why they are absolutely crucial for survival. Here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. From blueprint to construction. 2. The great growth spurt. 3. Refining the exterior. 4. Muscles, bones, and movement. 5. Preparing for the outside. And finally, number 6, a second trimester summary. All right, moving to chapter 1, from blueprint to construction. Let's set the stage right at the end of the first trimester. There's actually a really clear distinction between the early and middle phases of pregnancy. The first 12 weeks, that is all about the blueprint. It's this critical time for organ formation. By the end of week 12, the main processes of development are basically done. The foundations are firmly laid. But then, as we shift into the second trimester, we enter the construction and maturation phase. Those organs that were just roughly laid down, they begin to mature. The body shape and proportions change dramatically. By the end of this middle trimester, the fetus is going to look distinctively, unmistakably human. That brings us to section 2, the great growth spurt. We're talking massive weight gain here. Check out this data. At 12 weeks, the fetus is about 8 centimeters long and weighs a mere 26 grams. To put that into perspective, biologists often compare that to the weight of a bloated bird. Not very big, right? But as we move through the second trimester, we hit the most rapid period of weight gain in the entire pregnancy. By 24 weeks, that weight rockets all the way up to 640 grams. That is just over half a kilogram. This massive push for growth takes some intense biological resources, and it fundamentally changes the physical presence of the developing baby in the womb. Let's move on to section 3, refining the exterior. This is where we focus on skin, hair, and nails. During the second trimester, the skin goes through a major upgrade. The epidermis, that tough outer layer of skin, is fully laid down. Why now? Well, because the fetus needs a much more robust barrier to protect all those developing internal systems. And alongside the skin development, we actually see hair follicles becoming active. Fine hair visibly starts to grow all over the fetus, which gives it this great preliminary layer of protection and helps with temperature regulation. Now here's a really cool detail. Things that were laid down earlier are finally being activated. Remember those tiny nail beds that formed way back around, 8 to 10 weeks? Well, during the second trimester, those beds finally sprout actual visible fingernails right on the fingertips. It's such a remarkable finishing touch, and it really highlights how the fetus is slowly being equipped with the physical tools it's going to need out in the real world. On to section 4, muscles, bones, and movement. It's time for some serious internal mechanical upgrades. So early on, the skeletal framework of the fetus isn't actually bone at all. It's made of a much softer cartilage. But during the second trimester, this incredibly vital biological process kicks in. That early soft cartilage framework starts being systematically replaced by solid bone. And if you're wondering why this happens right now, well, remember that rapid weight gain we just talked about? The body suddenly needs rigorous structural support. Without rigid bones, there is simply no way the growing body could sustain its own rapidly changing proportions. Of course, you can't really have a functional skeleton without muscles to move it, right? So alongside this new hardening bone, muscle tissue is rapidly being laid down. We are literally watching the real-time creation of a functional musculoskeletal system. The central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, is already in place from the first trimester. And now, vital neural connections are actively hooking up to these brand new muscles. And the result of all those bones, muscles, and neural connections finally working together? Movement. Usually right between 18 and 22 weeks, the pregnant person is going to feel the fetus move for the very first time. Because the baby is still relatively small and surrounded by fluid, these initial movements are incredibly delicate. In fact, one of our biological sources beautifully describes the sensation as, and I quote, almost like a butterfly in the uterus. It's just a spectacular, direct physical manifestation of the musculoskeletal system coming online. Section 5, preparing for the outside.
time for some crucial life support upgrades.
Okay, this is a truly fascinating bit of biological engineering regarding the protective environment around the fetus. So the fetus is encircled by the amnion, the inner membrane, and during this period, it actually starts growing faster than the surrounding placenta. As it expands, the outer layer of the amnion, the mesoderm, gets pushed outward until it forcefully contacts the inner surface of the chorion, which is the outer membrane. When these two layers meet, they literally fuse together. This creates a single, highly durable compound shield, known as the amniochorionic membrane. It's a vital structural upgrade to safely house a rapidly growing baby. At the exact same time, the fetus is busy getting ready for its very first breath of air. Now, the lungs definitely won't be fully mature until the third trimester, but the critical groundwork, that happens right here. Tiny little air sacs called alveoli begin to form deep within the lung tissue. These are the exact structures that will eventually handle exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide. Plus, the nostrils, which were actually plugged up before this, finally open up. The fetus is quite literally building the plumbing required for independent breathing. Which brings us to Section 6, our second trimester summary. Let's recap these incredible milestones. If you take away anything from this explainer, let it be the sheer absolute scale of this construction phase. The fetus rockets from a tiny 26 grams up to roughly 640 grams. The exterior gets totally refined as the epidermis solidifies, hair grows, and actual fingernails appear. Internally, soft cartilage is swapped out for solid bone, and muscle tissue is laid down and wired up to the nervous system. That's what enables those delicate, butterfly-like first movements. And finally, the life support systems get a massive upgrade, fusing protective membranes and forming lung alveoli to prep for that first breath. It is truly a marvel of biological engineering, isn't it? But as amazing as the second trimester is, it's really just setting the stage for the grand finale. With the blueprint built and major construction well underway, what incredible finishing touches and massive physical expansions happen in the third and final trimester before birth? Well, that is a fascinating topic for another day. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep feeding your curiosity.